What's up? And welcome back. It's your boy Brett Martineau. It's Think Like Me or Don't. This in this episode, I went on a little bit of a rant. I actually kind of like it. I think I'm just going to leave it and just let it run as is. But I didn't do an intro at the beginning of it, so this is that intro. You know, there's this crazy thing that you learn when you are training to fight. Back when I was a younger, smaller, leaner, more in shape man, and I was fighting, something occurred to me in my head that completely changed the way that my body responded to things. Because you see, Muay Thai is like it's a very violent, a very painful sport. I'll put it that way. And I was known, my body bruises quite easily. So I was known for getting beaten up and bruised, and I would take hits, and I would put myself in situations where I would get, I'd get tagged quite a bit. But I realized something. I was watching some fights in Thailand, and it occurred to me, really what happened was there's a really famous fighter in Thailand. His name is Saenchai, and he's definitely in the conversation around greatest of all time when it comes to Muay Thai fighters. He's easily one of the best fighters right now. But he was posting, I follow him on Instagram, and he was posting every other week. Thank you to my fans. We won again. Thank you to my fans. We won again. And I was like, what? Is this guy for real fighting every couple of weeks? Like at least once a month? And I looked, and yeah, he was. And in fact, it hadn't dawned on me, but in Thailand, they fight all the time. Like in the US, you might be lucky to fight 4 or 5 times a year. Like that's a lot. But in Thailand, they fight 20, 30, 50 times a year. And that clicked for me, when I was able to get past the craziness of that and realize and stop and think about what that means to fight every couple of weeks, once every 3 weeks on average. 2 things occurred to me. The first was that puts a whole new spin on being in fight shape, because it's not like, I think one of the other side effects of the fact that we don't fight as often in the United States because of regulations and all that kind of stuff is that we put together a fight camp, we get into fight shape, we fight, and then we breathe. And then the next fight is the deal for the next fight is signed, and 6 weeks out from that fight, we turn it back up, and we get back into fight shape. But in Thailand, they're never not in fight shape. They're always in camp. There's no difference between I'm leading up to a fight and I just got off a fight. It's like everything's the same. And what occurred to me, that first part of it was, if you don't think about fighting as like this huge conclusion to the path of your fight camp, then number one, there's not as much pressure on the fight itself. But number two, it changes your relationship with camp itself. Camp is always meant to be like, it's this mental place that you put yourself in. It's grueling and it's rough and such a big reward at the end. But you put a lot of pressure on yourself psychologically. But the second thing that occurred to me when I realized that was, and this isn't obvious, right? This isn't like the thing that you would necessarily go to when you realize that. But I realized you're going to get hurt. And getting hurt doesn't really hurt that much, if that makes sense. Like I would see videos of them training in Thailand, and they would be training with bare shins, like sparring with bare shins, just playing. And when I did that in the US, when I would, every once in a while we would do that, it was painful. And I was like, how are these guys able to play like that and not be wincing in pain every time? And what slowly occurred to me over time is that the pain that I was feeling was only this much of the pain. Meaning the body's response to injury is a pain signal. But normally, like if injury, let's say there's a scale, right? So this up here is like your leg actually breaking, right? And this down here, actually I'm going to flip it around. This down here is your leg breaking. And this up here is your body's pain response, okay? Like this is like you get tapped. Like that's this, and this is my leg breaking, right? Your body really doesn't want this to happen, right? So its pain response, the pain mechanism, is designed to keep you as far away from this as possible. Meaning, your mind is going to think that this is happening when this is happening, right? Only a couple of levels beyond getting slapped or getting punched. But really, your body can take a lot more than you think it can. And you think that it can't because your mind makes the pain seem more serious than it actually is. And when first, I don't know how I came to that, but for whatever reason, when that clicked for me, there was no more, I didn't get hurt ever again. Because I realized that like shins are strong. Shins can break baseball bats. Think about that. A shin can break a baseball bat, right? And your head can take quite a bit of punishment. So to think about, a nice big thick pillow on your fist when you're getting hit with it, it doesn't really hurt. Not really. Now that's not to say that that's not dangerous, and it's not to say that you can't actually get really hurt, because you can. But those situations where real injury happens are so few and far between and require a certain amount of either specific force applied on purpose, meaning someone who knows exactly what they're doing could injure you in that way, or a significant, like just the perfect storm of misunderstanding of the technique and a misapplication of power. So you're either really good, or you're trying to be really good and you're really not. That's when you're really going to get injured. But everything outside of that, if you know what you're doing, and if you're controlled around the things that you're trying to do, you're not actually going to get injured. And what happened with me was I didn't get injured ever again. Not really. When I first started out training, my shins would swell up all the time, and it was always such a bad thing. Even after I fought without shin guards or headgear the first time, you check a bunch of kicks and you do things, and the truth is I didn't feel it. A lot of times after a fight, and again, amateur level, so it's not the same thing as like being in a professional fight. I totally understand that. But what I realized was that the body is designed to take more punishment than we give it credit for. And what I'm realizing now that I'm fat and out of shape and I haven't trained in almost a year is that the mind is the same way. The mind can take a lot more punishment than you think it can. And what I mean by that is you are capable mentally of learning more than you think you are, of becoming excellent at more than you think you are. And I only know this because I am not anything special as a human being, and I have been able to achieve a certain level of prowess across just a stupid amount of things. And for the longest time, I just attributed it to like I have this ADD. I can't sit still. I have to like try a bunch of things. And I even let myself fall victim to the jack of all trades, master of none mentality of like, oh, you should really just focus on one thing and then you get really, really good at it. But the truth is, if you know me, you know that I'm not really the best at anything that I do. But I am pretty damn good at a lot of things. And it's not because I'm anything special. It's because I never let myself see the limitations. I never let myself think, oh, I can't learn to do that. That's beyond what I'm good at. That's not my lane that I should stay in. But when you realize that, like, just like with the pain, and I know that the metaphor doesn't make full sense, and it's going to take some time for it to click for you, but in my mind, it's the same thing. Being able to take punishment physically and being able to learn new things and really put your mind through its paces, I think we just allow ourselves to just sit in this little zone of comfort where we're not really pushing ourselves to be bigger, to be better, to be more than what we are. Either because we don't think that we deserve to be more, or because we get comfortable and we're just happy. We think we're happy with what we are. But I think that as human beings, we have been through whatever you want to call it, through the gift of millions of years of evolution, through the gift of divine bestowment of our species, through whatever. We have a tool that does so much more than we're using it for. Like right now, what are we using our tool for? And I don't like to be the one that's bashing on current social trends, because I think there's always a current social trend that someone's going to bash on. That's like a thing. But are we using our brains? Are we using our intellect, our minds for more than just memes and hashtags? You know, not that there's anything wrong with, because there's something even in memes and in hashtags that is a growth opportunity for our minds to really understand and learn to communicate in that way, and to adopt it and to like make it your own. It's its own thing. But I mean, is that all we're doing? Like really, what? How are we growing? How are we becoming more than we were before? I don't know that we are, as a whole. I mean, a lot of us are making a lot of that kind of progress, but I just feel like, I mean, in the last 6 months, I've become a quasi-expert in broadcast technology, in media transfer protocols. I've become somewhat of an expert in an entirely new NLE, nonlinear editing program, DaVinci Resolve. I've become, the last year, I've basically from scratch learned about cinema, video. Like that's not my wheelhouse. It's something I'm interested in. But like really like putting your brain through its paces and learning something new, and not settling for, oh, well, that's not my lane. I think that's the thing really that bothers me. Because again, I don't think I'm anything special, and I don't bring up the stuff that I know. I'm not by any means the world's leading expert on anything. But that doesn't mean that you don't go after things that you're interested in. That doesn't mean that you don't learn more and expand your mind and become aware of more that's out there. Like, it's that process of retreating into one's own little sphere of comfort that I think is the most dangerous thing we can do as humans. So I don't know if that means anything to anybody or if you guys care, but that's just a thought that I had.